Hello. Today we're going to be talking about design and specifically print design. This is the part of the course where we kind of shift from the theoretical part of creative advertising to looking at how to use creativity in the different types of media. So we're going to start off with print ads, and first I have to tell you what design is, and then how it can be applied to print ads. I have a very simple definition of design. I call it my sets definition. And design is arranging a set number of items in a set amount of space following a certain set of rules. I can say that again. Design is arranging a set number of items in a set amount of space following a certain set of rules. So with a print ad, let's say we're thinking of a magazine print ad, the set number of items are as follows. You will have a headline, you will have an image or images, you will have copy, and that's the written part of the ad. You will have a logo that is a visual representation of the company, organization, or group, and you will have contact information. So you need to have those 5 items: headline, images, copy, logo, contact information on any print ad that you have. Design, I said, is set number of items. Next step is a set amount of space. And with a magazine, it would be probably 8.5 by 11, but you've probably seen magazines in different sizes and shapes like Reader's Digest or Rolling Stone. And print ads go beyond just magazines and newspapers. It includes billboards, it includes flyers, it includes, pretty much anything that, ink goes on some sort of paper. It might not actually be paper, but a paper-like substance, let's say. So the set amount of space will change depending on what you're doing the printing on, but it's never going to change size as you're going along. You start designing a magazine ad, and the magazine isn't all of a sudden going to end up being half its size. It's always going to be, say 8.5 by 11. The billboard doesn't dynamically change sizes as you go along. Maybe some of those digital ones, but, it has a set width and a set height. And with design, you arrange the 5 items that I gave you in that set amount of space and following a certain set of rules. Now, the rules vary from medium to medium. But today I'm going to show you some basic ad layouts, print ad layouts. You can see them kind of as a prototypical type of ad. So this doesn't mean that all ads fit into one of these categories, but they're a very good starting point. And when you look at the examples, you can see, oh yeah, I see exactly how this could be used on a magazine ad, newspaper ad, flyer, mailer, whatever you're needing to print out. So that having been said, let's look at the basic ad layouts. The first type of ad I like to talk about is a Mondrian ad. It's named after Piet Mondrian, and his art looks like this. This isn't actually a Mondrian painting. This is a Ron Allman version of a Mondrian painting. And what he would do is he had a set amount of space, his canvas, and he divided up that space into rectangular areas. And actually he used a certain rule to divide up the space, and that is the golden ratio. The golden ratio is basically a 2/3 ratio. Excuse me. But it actually has a specific number. It's a continuing number like pi. And we have found, well, the Greeks found it first. Excuse me again. The Greeks found first that there is a ratio that we tend to like, and it's that 2 to 3 ratio. It's called phi. And it's reoccurrent in lots of different types of art, and it's also reoccurrent in many different types of parts of nature. So what Mondrian would do is divide up the space using this golden ratio, and then what he would do with these rectangular areas is he would fill them with a primary color. So you have red, you have yellow, you have blue, and he also used black and white. So you can see here from this example, certain squares, rectangles are filled with color, some are not, and it becomes an expression of how that space is contained and how that space is used, the relationships of those spaces to each other. It's very modern kind of approach to art. So in Mondrian Ad, let's look at an example here. There we go. You can also see that the space, this 8.5 by 11 space, has been divided up into rectangular areas. And instead of filling those areas with primary colors, you fill it with one of the 5 elements. So you can see on this ad that there is a headline, Fulfill Your Promise. You have images, you have the library over here, basketball player on the lower left. You have copy, you have the logo, kind of reversed out of black here, and then the contact information. In this case, it's just the phone number and the website. You can include in the contact information an address. You can include whatever information you need to include, so the person who's being influenced by this ad can take that next step. So in the case of IU Southeast here, you would want to take that next step and apply today. So let's look at some samples here. Here we have John Travolta, and you can see once again that this space has been divided into nice rectangular areas, and one of the 5 elements that I mentioned that a print ad will have is in one of these rectangles. So you have headline across the top, profession, pilot, career, actor, not the best headline, but you have 3 images that are in rectangular areas, copy, you have the logo to the lower right, and contact information below the copy. So definitely a Mondrian ad, and you can see how you can almost take that structure and then start putting primary colors in it, and it would look like a Mondrian painting. So let's look at another sample here. This one's for Louisville. Easily can see the different rectangular shapes here. Headline, city so unique. There's no levels of unique. It should say city unique, one of a kind. That's what unique means, and is practically commonplace. You shouldn't have punctuation in your headline. So you have the Louisville Slugger Museum there. You have Churchill Downs. You have the Speed Art Museum. You have the Muhammad Ali Center and the Fraser Art Museum. Kind of over there to the right where you kind of see that grid of squares. Squares are very boring in design. They're very static with equal sides, so you kind of want to avoid that. I might get rid of the Speed Art Museum there in the upper right hand corner because, well, no one knows what that's about, and stretch out the picture of Churchill Downs, and that way you actually create what's called a dominant image there. A dominant image is an image that is 30% larger than anything else on the page, and it's the first place that the eye is drawn to. So this ad kind of lacks that, but it does have all the 5 elements: headline, images, copy, logo, and contact information, which is actually at the end of the copy. 1-888 Louisville or 502-582-3732. So I probably make that a little more prominent also. All right, second type of ad. It's a grid ad. A grid ad also talks about proportion. And in this case, you can see that the space has been divided up. I guess it would be vertically, into thirds. You have images across the top 2 thirds, text information in the bottom third there. So when you're thinking of a grid ad, you do want to divide up your space into equal units. In this case, we have 4 photos in the top 2/3 of this ad, and then that space is divided in half and it creates a grid, thus the name the grid ad. Once again, yes, squares are boring, but one of the powers of the grid ad is that you get to show multiple images, you get to show multiple angles of maybe the same product. Say an automobile, you can see the front of the car, the back of the car, the side of the car, the interior of the car. There's many different angles as you need to show to sell that product. And you can also show progression over time. That's an interesting one. Since we're a left to right reading culture, square 1 would be the beginning of the story, once upon a time. Square 2, something happens. Square 3 would be your climax, and then square 4 would be your resolution. So you can tell a story using a grid ad. Notice with all the text elements, they're nice, big and bold headline, good copy there, logo, and the contact information here. Just the iOS email site, not email, website. And let's look at a grid ad here. Notice that with this Nutrisystem ad that the page is divided into thirds. You got 2/3 being testimonials and then 1/3 being actually a lot of information, almost too much, even for a print ad. But the top 2/3, the image part of the grid ad here, forms that grid. And we get to hear from Brian, Annette, Martha, and Pam. By the way, Nutrisystem does work. I have lost 30 pounds with Nutrisystem. Gained them all back as soon as you stop using it, because you're eating their food. You're getting a smaller dose of calories, very small portion sizes, and unless you really get into that habit or stick with Nutrisystem, which is expensive, you're going to gain that weight back. But I digress. So definitely a headline there. Get results with Nutrisystem Silver. Lots and lots of copy in there. Logo down there to the lower right. And contact information in 2 different places. One reversed out of an orange bar and one reversed out of a green bar. And those are kind of complementary colors, but not really. But close enough. All right, that's my only sample of a grid ad, but there's certainly others out there. The third type of ad, picture window. Picture window is the most common type of ad that's out there. You still divide up the space proportionally. In this case, you have 1-part text elements to 2-part image elements. It's the bottom of it looks almost exactly the same as the grid ad. Instead of having 4 photos at the top of the grid ad, you have 1 dominant photo that will need to be very disruptive, very attention-getting to get the person who's flipping through the magazine or newspaper or whatever to stop for a second, then look at your headline and then read your copy. Once again, all 5 elements are there. This is, to me, a very lazy way to do an ad. But if you are really kind of stuck and don't know what direction to take your print ad, you can always go with a picture window. I don't think it shows creativity. So remember that when the final project comes along. But I do understand sometimes, that's it. You can't do anything else. But if you have that compelling image, you do pretty well for yourself. This is, as you can see, a picture window ad. You got Adam Scott, golfer, up there. Headline on top of him. Once again, with punctuation, not usually the best thing. But it also has that image of the watch there. That's the only thing that kind of takes it away from being a true picture window type ad. But definitely contact information, logo in there. But unless you know who Adam Scott is, it's not really going to draw that much attention. Maybe the watch will. But One of the problems with celebrity endorsements is sometimes the celebrities don't turn out to be the greatest people in the world. You can ask Hertz with O.J. Simpson. That didn't work out too well. Unless you, Jello pudding with Bill Cosby. Unless you got a really squeaky clean person to, hang your celebrity endorsement on, always be a bit wary of celebrity endorsements. All right, buy picture window, and copy heavy. Copy heavy is when you have a product that you're trying to sell that doesn't lend itself well to images. I mean, iOS does lend itself well to images, but this is just an example. But let's say something along the lines of a medication. If it's a medication for psoriasis or something like that, and the image isn't all that great, so you're still going to have all 5 elements. You can see the headline, the copy, an image, the logo, and contact information. But what is really selling the product is the copy. And the copy better be good. In this case, it's just Greeking, some placeholder text that designers use. But you really need to have a good, strong headline, stops the reader, brings them into the ad, and then get them to read copy. You can actually, in some schools, get a degree just in writing copy. Instead of being a creative person or public relations type person, you might want to go into advertising copywriting. It's an art. It really is, and I can't say that I'm very good at it, but there are people who are brilliant. So use this when you really don't have a compelling image. And let's look at a couple examples that'll show you that. And here is a drug ad, Toviaz or something like that. Really weak headline. Don't put a headline in parentheses. It's like saying don't look here. And then not very big, not very bold, little period there at the end. But you do have an image. There is an image on this ad. It's a tomato. And, you probably got the idea that the story is about the ad's about overactive bladder because it says so in the headline. And then you look at the tomato and you think, if my bladder is the size of a tomato, I see why I have problems here. But it turns out, no, it's acidic food and stuff like that. But it's interesting on the bottom here when you look at the balance. They're trying to balance out this big logo here with the Pfizer logo in the lower left, contact information there. It's a nice ad for something that you really can't show with an image, an overactive bladder. And another example, if I can click, and if it will load. Okay, this is an ad. It's actually kind of a double ad. They're trying to make you tune in to Turner Classic Movies, also to drink some beer here. So you got more than one product that's being sold, but you can see that they really don't have an image. They have a glass of beer. They have the movie poster for 310 to Yuma, but they really don't have anything else but logos. So they're using text as art, and that's the way they're getting around not having any images in a text-heavy ad by treating the text itself as a piece of art. Not a bad way to do it. All right, frame ads. There are two approaches to frame ads. Both have the same concept, and that is it's supposed to look like a picture frame. You have the family portrait and then a frame around the family portrait. How you create that frame, it depends on which approach you take. In this approach here, you have a bunch of images on the outside creating the frame, and all the text elements in the center, acting as the, photo itself in the frame. So kind of a reverse on the whole idea there, but you can see how the images would grab you in, and then the copy has to sell it. And, is good if you have a lot of different images, a lot of different information that you're trying to express. Another way of approaching it is as taking an image and cutting out the center of it and putting the text elements inside that cutout image. Now, some images don't lend themselves to this very well. In this case, it's an outdoor graduation at IUS. We haven't had those in a while, but you can tell because of what information is around the outside that, yeah, it's a graduation. You see the mortarboards, you see people celebrating, you see silly string in the air. You get the idea. But let's say you have an image that's just a mugshot of a guy. And, if you cut out that center part and put the text elements there, well, all you're going to see is the guy's shoulders and maybe the top of his head. So that type of image doesn't lend itself to that type of frame ad. But, once again, same kind of concept. You have an image around the outside, and center is where you put the 4 text elements. And we have some examples, of course. For some reason, my examples are taking forever to load today, and must know I am recording. All right, here's one for the U.S. Open. Takes that approach of multiple pictures around the outside, text information on the inside, logos, contact information. This headline across the top there, not so good. I did a poor job of ripping this ad out. Speaking of people that you might not want to do celebrity endorsements here. When they're caught doing things that they ought not to have been done. So, and if anyone knows me, I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan for some reason. Yes, he's made me laugh, but rarely. So, not a huge fan. Always a problem that, once again, with celebrity endorsements, might not work out, if people don't, 100%, like the person who is your celebrity endorser. So you end up going with someone like Tom Hanks or something like that nobody dislikes. Here they also do image on the outside as a frame, but instead of having the text elements on the inside, they have another image on the inside. And notice that the image around the outside is only on the left, top, and right. When you bring something into another image like that, that's called a notch. So they notched the tennis photo into the mountain folder, well, I guess golf course type thing in the background. So started off maybe as a true type of frame ad, but variation on the theme, and that's the idea. You start with one of these prototypical ads, and then you take it to the next level using your creativity. All right, silhouette ad. Silhouette ad is when you remove the background of an image, or shoot the image without a background. And what you do with the silhouette ad is then you wrap the other 5 elements around that image. So here we have Dr. Adam Maxwell. He's showing off his little drone there. The headline isn't actually wrapped around the image in this case, but you can definitely see where the text wraps around both Dr. Maxwell and the drone. I don't know what he uses it for. Maybe it is a probe. It's a drone. But you can see the logo and the contact information next to it. That also does kind of wrap around the image of Dr. Maxwell there. So that's what a silhouette is, just wrapping your 5 text elements around an image that has had its background either removed or shot without a background. And an example here. Here we have a gorilla. It's for Corning Gorilla Glass. And you can see the headline here wrapped around the back of the gorilla. The text wrapped around, and maybe flush right, but it's still wrapped around the back of the gorilla. So we're in, the example that I showed you with Dr. Maxwell, it was, very vertical. In this case, it's very horizontal. You usually end up with one of those approaches where you have a very vertical or very horizontal image, background removed, and then you start wrapping the text elements around that. Type specimen. This is one that breaks the rules, and I will show you here. What you'll notice that it is missing one of the 5 elements that are items that you arrange in a print ad. It is missing an image. Once again, there are types of products, group, organizations that really don't lend themselves to images. In this case, once again, iOS could lend itself very well to images, but it uses a big, strong, stylized, designed head, known as a display head, to grab the attention of the viewer. Not only is it put in a novelty type, it is also in color to kind of grab your attention. It's out of a kind of a taupe background there to make it pop a little bit more. Logo also highlighted in red, drawing a relationship due to similarity of the color to the box around the logo. Contact information in the lower right. It actually seems a little too low to the lower right. Could be moved up a couple of points there. But a good way to design an ad when you don't have an image. And that's a text specimen, or type specimen, either one. Here's one out of a magazine. Here it is getting you to take aspirin, and you can see once again uses the headline as art. It's very dominant. Color. Also uses logos as images more than just symbols. A little bit of text there, a little bit of contact information. So yeah, taking aspirin, not much of a picture there, but this could grab attention. And another type specimen here. Annuities. Annuities are fun. If you are very conservative with your money and you want to invest in your retirement, but you don't ever want to lose that money and maybe make some money, put your money in an annuity. But how do you take a picture of that? You really can't. And here saying 2.65 guaranteed in 5 years, that's nothing. If you invest in index funds, you can get 6-7% even during a pandemic. So yeah, annuities, for those who are very conservative with their money, don't like a lot of risk, and some people love it, but not something easy to design an ad around. So what you're using is the headline, the 2.65%, as what's going to grab the reader's attention, the viewer's attention, and bring them into the ad. Plenty of copy, plenty of disclaimers, and lots of contact information here. You got websites, you got mail, make a phone call, all these different things. But really, no image in here. Color field. Color field is when you take a photo, usually a color photo, and you plop all the text elements on top of it. Now, the problem with that is, would you ever put a photo on top of your text? No, you wouldn't do it because it blocks the text. So why would you do that with text on top of an image? It blocks part of the image. With this image in the upper right with the headline and the copy, it's okay. There wasn't anything in there. It's kind of dead space. Actually putting the text in there actually kind of balances out the photo a little bit. But unless you have a space like that, imagine trying to put that text on top of the graduates. It would just be too busy. It wouldn't be legible. And you can do tricks like that, putting drop shadows on it and outlining it and making it glow. When you start thinking that way, you're on your way to bad design. And you can see that with the logo and the contact information, it just eats that corner up. It destroys that part of the image. So be careful with color field ads. And notice that the other examples have always been an 8.5 by 11. And this is more of a 2-page, so 17 by 11. Yeah, 17. A spread, that's what it's called. That's the word I was looking for. Color field ads, for some reason, usually use 2 pages. And they're good things for like automobile ads. You can put the headline and the text in the sky. You can put the logo and contact information on the road, but you can leave the car in the middle without having any problems with it. So very popular with that type of ad. Now here's an 8.5 by 11 type of color field ad where they put text on top of an image, and this is a terrible ad. Why would you put this on top of the dolphin? I know you're stamping something fragile, but you could have had the same effect by moving it over to the right a little bit too. And the headline and the text is right on top of the dolphin. Maybe you want to wrap it around like a silhouette ad. But I understand what they're trying to do. Your focus is on the dolphin, and if you're going to try to trick someone into reading the text, put it on top of the dolphin. So, and the upper area is just kind of dead there. They put the dolphin and the fragile in the right place on the ad. It's called the optical center of the ad. But I don't think it works very well, but it is an example not only of a color field ad, but how color field ads could be used inappropriately. Band is a lot like a grid ad, but instead of dividing your space into 2 parts on top, 1 part on bottom, you still have the page divided up into 3 parts, but instead of having it all at the top, you have it either as a vertical band of photos, or you can do it horizontally. But with an 8.5 by 11 ad here, a vertical band of photos works better. Page is divided in half, text elements on the left, images on the right. And notice that with the images, Gus, the Grenadier up there in the upper right, he's sort of looking into the ad. Our basketball player, he's actually driving forward, but the basketball kind of draws into the copy. And of course, the image of the clock down there, that's non-directional. If you're going to have images, the images should face into the ad or into the copy. So, if you have them looking off the page, it'll just make the person want to turn the page. You don't want them to turn the page. You want them to read the information. And in this case, you can see all 5 of the items that you arrange on the page are there, but definitely a lot of contact information. You have name, address, phone number, email address, website. So many different ways to go about contacting there and using contact information. So band is going to have either a very strong stack of vertical photos or horizontal photos. Has the same advantages of grid ad. You can show multiple items, one item from multiple angles, and you can definitely tell a story, changes over time. So very similar to the grid ad. And we have examples. You have the images here stacked in a nice vertical thing. Work, weekend, dress, and golf. I think it's the same designer that did the dolphin ad, because still have the kind of aerial text here boxed in, trying to act as headline. This doesn't have any copy, unless you're going to really call these boxed in areas copy, but really stretching it there. You got your logo there, you got your contact information, kind of missing, I guess iron-free cotton khaki might fit as your copy, but there's nothing saying, hey, our clothes are good for a guy who does all these things. Just a couple words would probably help it out. And logo as a headline never works. Just don't do it. And I think I have another band example here. All right, images over here on the left, and coming off this very vertical stack of photos, you have bullet points, so lots of text. The headline could be bolder, and you can see how they try to make the headline really pop out of the blue background. I don't think it needs the white glow around it. I think the color itself should be enough to pop out of there. Notice how the flower kind of pops from the light blue background. go with that. Putting text on top of a background like this one does, if it's very contrasty like this one, you can get away with it. But if you have a darker background with dark text, it may not work. You notice with the darker background at the bottom, they reverse the text out, making it white. And once again, if there's not enough contrast, you'll start losing some of that information. So keep that in mind. And finally, axial ads. Axial ads have a lot in common with the silhouette ads, but instead of wrapping around the image that has the background removed, you just kind of run it off of the image. And in this case, since it's a very vertical image, the text elements, the headline, the copy, logo, and contact information kind of goes off that very vertical image, like a flag post. Flags off of a flag post. You can do it horizontally, kind of like laundry off of a clothesline, depending on how much space you have, the shape of your set amount of space. Might work better for a billboard than, say, a very vertical 8.5 by 11 ad in a magazine or newspaper. So all the text elements going off a image that has the background removed, either very vertical or very horizontal. And our examples here. This one is actually missing a headline, and I think it suffers from it. It has the copy coming off this marine here, and off a very vertical image, kind of like flags off a flag post. It has the logo and the contact information. Very striking image. The image was most likely shot with the brown or almost black background behind him. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I'm like 90% sure, when you do photos, advertisement photos for the military, you actually have to have a service officer pose for it. In other words, you can't hire a model, dress them up like a soldier. It's actually kind of offensive. So this guy, a Marine, so good on him. And our final example here. This is one of these ads where two companies are together trying to promote their products, in this case Ironman and the LG phone here, and the very vertical image here of the phone with Ironman on it. And you can see the text elements coming off of the phone, and they even put the little blue line there to make it a little bit easier for you to see how an axial ad would work. So all right, those are your prototypical types of ads, your print ads. Good for newspapers, good for magazines, billboards. They have their own set of problems, like people driving by them at high rates of speed, not being noticed like for the first 3 to 4 times people pass them. So a little different approach, but you still want those 5 elements on there. You want an image, you want a headline, a little bit of copy, but definitely contact information, and something that's really simplified so someone can remember it as they're driving. Flyers, postcards, all these things, you can apply these prototypical ads to them.